this game! No, really, fuck this game. Fuck it hard. I honestly cannot believe just how atrociously bad this unholy excuse for a video game actually is. Almost nothing about it is done right. It's a complete fucking disaster. Okay, so maybe I'm overreacting a little bit, but in all honesty, it's not by much. What little this game has in terms of unique concepts or fun ideas are quickly ruined and overshadowed by all the idiotic bullshit that surrounds it. I don't know whether to cry, laugh, or just scream my fucking head off, but I do know that this game should never have seen the light of day. Unfortunately, it did, and that means I'm now forced to review the fucking thing. Well, even though I'm seriously dreading this, I'm going to do it in the hopes of preventing anyone else from having to suffer through this fucking garbage. It pains me to say it, but let's take a look at Unlimited Saga. Ugh. So, as you may or may not know, Unlimited Saga is a Japanese RPG developed by Square, the legendary company behind the Final Fantasy series. As I've mentioned before, I'm a fairly big fan of this company and their games, so like a lot of people, I was pretty excited about this one. After all, I thought Final Fantasy X was pretty damn excellent, even if certain other people didn't.
I hate this game!
In any case, I was really looking forward to playing this game, and I was almost certain that Square would provide me with a great, or at least decent experience. Oh, how very, very wrong I was. Just a few minutes after starting up the game, I felt fucking stabbed. Instead of a vast, sprawling and interesting world with lots of various things to see, creatures to battle and locations to traverse, I was presented with a fucking board game. No, actually, it wasn't even a board game. It was just a fucking chess piece moving one step at a time around a fucking map. What is this? Is this really the best you could come up with? You honestly thought it would be at all fun or entertaining to watch a mother-humping chess piece moving very slowly around an almost empty map for pretty much the entire fucking game? What the hell kind of hallucinogenic drugs are you on, Square? Seriously, only someone on some extremely heavy-duty drugs would find this at all entertaining. Okay, so you do occasionally encounter enemies, treasure chests, and or various traps, but for the most part, you're just moving this figurine across the map one boring step at a time without so much as a fart getting in your way. Thankfully, there are a few other elements to this game, but they're all dreadful. For instance, you don't really have any sort of towns or villages to roam around in and get equipment and info like in other RPGs. Oh no! Instead, you get a fucking DVD menu that's supposed to represent a town. You don't even have a character on screen, just a cursor and a few boxes or lines of text to choose from. I mean, come on, Square! This is supposed to be an epic, big-budget role-playing video game, right? So, why does it look and feel like I'm playing one of those barely interactive, multiple-choice type things tacked on as an extra feature to the DVD of some dumbass kids film? In addition to the epic world map and the wondrous towns, you also get a battle screen, the one place where this thing actually looks a little bit like a game. These screens will seem somewhat familiar to anyone who's ever played a turn-based JRPG before, but it's not really executed all that well. As I said, these battles are turn-based, which I for one think is all well and good. It's not completely traditional though, as the game makes you choose 5 moves to do before initiating the actual battle, instead of having one character fight at a time. You can choose to divide these moves between all of your available characters, or you can decide to just use one of them and leave the rest out of the fight. After selecting your moves, you'll then get presented with this roulette or slot machine type wheel containing the various attacks you have available. At first, this wheel is pretty much fucking useless, as you start out with only one variation of the various moves, but you do eventually unlock new abilities, giving this wheel a bit more purpose. You can also decide whether or not you want to use one move at a time, or if you want to try and connect them with each other to create combo attacks. Combo attacks are more powerful, but there's also a slightly bigger chance of getting interrupted and hit by the enemy when using them. They also use up more of your HP or hit points, possibly causing you to use them all up sooner than necessary. Speaking of HP, that's another rather unusual part of this game and its battle system. You see, while other RPGs usually use HP as health points or the character's life meter, this game uses them as so-called hit points. These are apparently needed to use the various moves you have available, and they also act as sort of a barrier, preventing the enemies from causing you damage by draining your life points or LPs. At least that's how I think it works, but I don't really know because the game itself doesn't tell you jack shit about anything. No, really, if you're expecting this game to explain how any part of it works, you're absolutely fucked. It just tosses this relatively complicated system right in your face and expects you to figure it all out for yourself. Well, guess what, you fucking idiots! I didn't make this game! How the hell do I know how it works? Okay, so it's not like it's completely impossible to figure out at least some things, and they do explain it a little bit in the manual, but I'm sorry, for a game like this, it's fucking inexcusable to leave out any form of tutorial or other way of explaining the various systems and terminologies. Maybe certain other games go a bit overboard with how much they explain everything, but at least with them, I know for certain how the fuck they work! Just as an example of how fucked up this can actually get, you will, as you may have guessed, lose a fair amount of both hit and life points as you make your way through the game. As with pretty much any other game, you must have some way of restoring those points to prevent death, but how exactly do you do that? Well, as far as the life points are concerned, you need to have a certain item or ability to restore them while traveling, but as long as your hit points are high enough, you don't really need to worry about them. Therefore, it's better to focus on keeping your hit points up, but how is that done? There's no menu option to do so, and it doesn't seem like there's any sort of ability that'll take care of it, so what the hell do you do? Well, I did eventually figure it out, and it's actually not that complicated, but why don't you just try to guess how to do it? I can tell you that you have to do it between each turn or move on the map, and it involves pressing just one button on the controller. Simple, right? Well, why don't you just guess which button it is then? Go ahead, guess! I guarantee that you won't get it unless you've played this game, because it's not exactly the first button you'll think of. It's nothing as stupid or insane as one of the face buttons. It's nothing as mundane as one of the shoulder buttons. It's not even something as ridiculous as the start or select button, no. The button you actually have to press to restore your hit points in this game is the L3 or R3 button. Yeah. The fucking joystick buttons. Fucking obvious, right? Now, don't get me wrong, it's not so much that it's absolutely impossible to figure this out, I mean, I did, but seriously, L3? Really? That was what they felt would be the most natural choice here? Have these arsewives ever actually played a video game before? Because it sure as hell doesn't seem like it. In all honesty, this entire game feels like a fucking afterthought. It's almost as if they put all their effort into some part of it that doesn't really have all that much to do with the actual game part. Oh, now I get it. Yeah, if you didn't catch it, the focal point of this game is the fact that it has 7 different characters to choose from, all of which have their own storylines, fighting styles, and difficulties. In and of itself, this is actually a pretty good idea with a lot of promise, but you'll quickly realize the problem with this as well. As I said, it feels like the team behind this game focused all their time and effort on some non-game related part of it, causing the actual game parts to feel like an afterthought. Now, I don't have any sort of hard proof for any of this, but I'm almost positive that the reason for this is that they spent all of their time creating all these characters and storylines, forgetting about the fact that they were supposed to be making a fucking video game! Seriously, wouldn't that kind of make sense? Wouldn't it explain quite a lot if it turned out that these idiots spent so much time on developing this 7-character-based story that when it came time to actually start developing the game parts, they had run out of time and just had to slap some basic shit together? Wouldn't that explain why it feels like they just used some of the concept art to visualize everything from the towns to the overworld map and even to some extent the actual characters? I can't be the only one with these suspicions, can I? In any case, you do get 7 different stories to choose from, so you should be able to find at least one you'll enjoy, right? Have you not been paying attention at all? First of all, no storyline, no matter how brilliant, could even hope to make the rest of this game bearable. And second of all, they're just not that good anyway. Okay, so I wouldn't really call them dreadful, at least not all of them, but they're nothing that spectacular either. At least not until you get way further into them than you'll be able or willing to. I can't really be bothered to go into detail about all of the stories, but trust me, you're not missing all that much. Now, you may have noticed that the stories are mainly told through these sort of comic book looking panels with speech bubbles, which seems to indicate that there's no voice acting, right? Wrong. There is voice acting, but it's only used once in a while, probably because they most likely didn't have time to finish recording them all, which just makes it seem very sporadic and unfocused. I don't know, I guess it's not a big deal, but I just think it would have been better to go all text with this one. At least then we wouldn't have to suffer through such fucking horrendous voice acting as this!
Is she in a slump? Guess I'll have to do something. Isn't she gorgeous? That's my sister!
I wonder why they picked a blockhead like me.
And the award for outstanding services to terrible voiceover work in video games goes to... Unlimited Saga! Well done! Well done! You certainly earned it! You talentless pricks! Oh, okay, so it's not like all the voiceovers are absolutely dreadful, but even the ones that are somewhat decent just sound weird. They just don't seem to fit or have the right tone, and they sometimes end up coming off as way more sinister than what I think was intended. Just take the narrator in the opening of the Armic story, for example. Yeah, I know, he's not exactly a major character of huge importance or anything, but still, doesn't he sound a bit too... intense?
Just when the villagers had given up all hope, a drifter came by.
He wore a pair of tight-fitting trousers that really showed off his physique, arousing the villagers like never before. Yeah. Honestly, I don't know what kind of directions these actors were given, but I have a feeling that the answer would be even more disturbing than the voiceovers. Apart from that, I don't really have all that much else to say. I know, I could have gone into way more detail about almost everything, but as I just want to get this over with, I just can't be bothered. This is just too unbearable to endure any longer. Just to sum things up though, I would say that the only parts of this game that are at all tolerable are the music and the artwork. I could easily listen to the soundtrack of this game and enjoy every note of it, and the game does actually have some rather decent visuals. However, as it does feel like I'm just watching a bunch of concept art, very good concept art, but concept art nonetheless, mashed together in a desperate attempt to create something that may remind some people of a video game, I can't really give them full credit for that either. All other aspects of the game are just atrocious. The overworld map is a joke, the towns are just a bunch of poorly made DVD menus, and while the battle and leveling systems are decent enough, they're just way too complicated and confusing, especially when nothing gets explained. Aside from that, the game is just not fun. Even if I somehow could excuse everything else, this game is still just way too fucking boring. Everything takes too long to happen, the stories and characters aren't that interesting, and even the battles themselves are more annoying and confusing than they are entertaining. If you've ever thought about picking this game up, don't. It's not worth a single penny, and I wouldn't even recommend it if you could get it for free. In fact, if someone ever gives it to you, punch them right in the face. They'll more than deserve it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need a fucking drink. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my video and for sticking around after the end credits. If you liked what you saw and or you just want to show me your support, then please subscribe to or follow me by pressing the button you'll find down here. If you want to see more of my stuff, then please check out some of my earlier videos either here or here. If you want to be extra awesome and help me out even more, then please consider supporting me on Patreon. You can also find me on Facebook, and depending on where you're currently watching this, then please also check out my Dailymotion or YouTube page up here. Finally, also check out my webpage. Yeah, it'd be really cool if you checked out some of this stuff. Especially that one.